Okay, so J checkbox provides functionality of a checkbox, that is whether an item can be selected or deselected, a small square box in which you will be getting a tick mark whenever you select it, and whenever you again select it, means access it, it will be getting deselected, right? So there are two options. By default it will be deselected when you display it, and it generates an item event. When a user selects or deselects a checkbox, an item event is generated, right? And you can obtain a reference checkbox, means which particular checkbox has generated the item event, by calling the method called as get item, which is present in the item event. And the related method, handler method, which you have to implement whenever you want to do something when a checkbox is selected, is item state changed. So a checkbox, when it is selected or deselected, generates the item event. Its corresponding listener will be the item listener, and the handler method is a item state changed. Okay, remember this, girls. For action event, the handler method is action performed. For item event, the handler method is item state changed. The state of the item is getting changed here. Here there are 4 checkboxes, 4 items. So whenever you select or deselect any of these items, an item event is going to be generated. And the related handler method is item state changed. Okay, which is present in the item listener. So you can also not only find out which checkbox has been selected using get item, which returns an object of a checkbox which is selected. You can use isSelected method to know whether a checkbox is in the selected state or a unselected state. So the status of the checkbox can be known using a method called as isSelected. So if the isSelected method returns true, it means your checkbox is in the selected position. If it returns false, it means it is in the unselected position. So you can also add on icons, image icons for your checkboxes. Not only the names what you're having, you can also have images which can be used with your checkboxes. And here are the constructors, a default constructor, and a constructor which tells you the action, when should be the action performed for this checkbox, because it is a type of a toggle button which you are using, a subclass of a toggle button class. So even the type of the action, only when you press it the action should happen, or just when you roll on, or when it is selected or deselected, what is the action you want to specify, you can mention over here. And you can also have it with an image. As I told, the checkbox can be there with an image, and an image where you can specify the selection option for that. So should it be initially selected or deselected? So by default it will be unselected. So if you want any of the item to be selected when the applet displays for the first time, then maybe sometimes you will be having like automatic selected options which will be happening, right? When you fill up some forms or browsing through some things, automatic do you want to continue with this, automatically the tick mark will be there. So you should ourselves deselect it and make the options properly, right? Sometimes. So that is how. So if you want the checkbox to be automatically checked, means selected by default, then you can use this option, this type of a constructor, where you can pass an image where the selection of that image checkbox could be yes, true, right? So if you pass false, then it will be unselected. By default also it will be unselected. Next, you can give a name string to your checkbox. So a string here with a checkbox will be attached, which tells you what is the purpose of that which you are selecting. The label like thing will be attached for that. And again, even for the string related checkboxes, you can have a Boolean selection option of the initial display of the checkbox, should it be selected or unselected. And along with the string, you can also have an image. Both string and image also can be acting as a checkbox for us. And again, string, image and selection option is there. Okay, you're having a methods like get text, which gives you the text of a checkbox, which particular checkbox is selected associated with the related checkbox. Set text will give the text, you can assign the text to your checkbox later on if you want. Is selected will tell you whether a checkbox is selected or deselected. It returns true if it is selected, it returns false if it is unselected. Get item will give you the checkbox object which has generated the item event over here. I think I have run the program and have shown you. Once again, let me just run it out for you. J checkbox. Yeah. Yeah, let me just run it out for you guys. So see here we are having, this is how a checkbox looks like. So when you select one of the checkbox, here is a label which I'm having, select languages. So accordingly, when I select it, I'm displaying a message. The particular checkbox name is select or not. So how I'm doing, you see here. So I have created a, inside the init, I have called the invoke and wait, inside which I am calling a make GUI. So in the make GUI, I have created a checkbox, J checkbox with the name, string name C. So this is how the first checkbox is created. It creates a item event. So register with the item listener. So cb.add item listener will add your component first checkbox C with the item listener. Add it into your container. Similarly, I have created 4 other checkboxes and added them, registered them and added them. Then I have added a label with the name select language and added it. Right. So in the, what is the corresponding handler method for the item event? Generates, the corresponding listener is item listener. So what is the handler method for the item listener?
Item state change.
It's the item state change, right? So we are implementing this item state change method. What do you want to do when a checkbox is selected or deselected? Here I want to display a message saying that which particular checkbox is displayed with its name which has been given. So that is what I'm doing. Created a checkbox item, checkbox object over here, and using that I'm calling the get item method. Get item method will return me the object of which checkbox is being selected. So if I've selected C, then C object selected or deselected, then C related checkbox object will be returned. I'm storing it into the CB. I'm displaying CB, is it selected, means if it will be true or whatever it is. So if CB is selected, JLabel dot set text CB dot uh, uh, get text. I'm getting the text of the thing, that is C is the name which is associated, will be displayed. So we are setting a label that a related C is selected. CB.getText will give the name. So that name C is selected. If I put on Java, then what happens? It's again an item event. The object is a Java object. GetText will return me Java. So you'll be getting a message Java.get selected. That is what assigned to your label. So that is what displayed. So if I select Perl, it's the same thing. C++, it's the same thing. So even when I deselect, it's generating an item event. So each time I select a deselect, an item event is generated by the checkboxes. Is it clear, girls? Now let's go to the next component. My document is visible, right, girls? J radio buttons.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, coming to the J radio buttons, these are again another variation of your toggle buttons, which are subclasses of your toggle button class. See here the hierarchy. J radio button is a subclass of J toggle button. J toggle button is a subclass of abstract button, and abstract button is a subclass of a J component. So this is how the hierarchy and how your J radio button will become a lightweight component. Right. So here is how a radio button looks like, a small circle within which a dot will be there if you have selected it. Okay, and these if you take a your check boxes, they are, we can do multiple selection, like I can select both the C++, Java, all 3 things at a time can be selected over there. But coming to the radio buttons, you can make them mutually exclusive. Okay, means if A is selected, B cannot be selected. So if I select B, whatever is the previously selected option will be lost. Okay, only one of them will be selected. So to make them, you can put your radio buttons into the group and make them mutually exclusive. Okay, is it clear, girls, how a radio button is visible, the look and feel? Radio buttons are a group of mutually exclusive buttons in which only one button can be selected at only one time. They're supported by the JRadio button class. The class which we are using is the JRadio button, and we extends the toggle button. In order for the mutually exclusive nature, we have to put them into the group. All the components which you want them to be mutually exclusive means only one of them want to be selected, then we have to put them into a group. That is what called as a button group. Only one of the buttons in the group can be selected at any time. So if a user presses a radio button which is in that group, any previously selection item will be automatically deselected, right? And to make this happen, a button group is created. So we create a button group object and add all your radio buttons into that button group. So its default constructor is invoked for this for creating a button group. So create a button group object using a default constructor of the button group class and add all your radio buttons using the add method, right? So elements, that is each of your radio button elements, are then added to the button group via the following method. So if B is a button group object, B dot add of your abstract button. What is your abstract button? Your radio button. You have to pass it as an argument, right? So all the things you added to this button group will become mutually exclusive, right? So first we create a button group object, then create your radio buttons and add them to your button group object. Okay, girls, that is what we do. Is it clear, girls? What are the steps which we have to follow? First, create the button group object. Then create your radio buttons. Then add them to your button group. 3 steps. Create a button group, create your buttons, add the radio buttons to the button group using the add method. So here AB is the button which you want to add it to the group. J radio button generates both action events, item events and change events each time the button selection changes. So each time you click, as it is a category of the button, it generates an action event, and as it is a toggle type where selection and deselection could happen, it also generates an item event, and as it is changing its state, it also generates a change events. So most often it is the action event that is handled. So you can handle with the action event, or all if you want you can also go with the item events. But we mostly generally action event will be handled with the radio buttons because it's mutually exclusive. So you can do it using action perform method if it is action event which you want to handle, or if it is item event which you want to handle, the handler method should be item state changed. And you can use get action command to know which particular radio button is being selected. And if you want any of the radio button to be selected automatically by default, you can set the action command on that radio button. You can also use get source to know what is the object which has generated the action event. You can also use selected to know whether it is in the selected mode or unselected mode. Right, so here are the constructors, a similar type of constructors what you have for the checkbox. Similar things will be there even for here because it is also of the selection type. So a default radio button and the radio button with an action, radio button with an image, radio button with image and boolean selection, true to indicate initial selection value, and a radio button with a string which could be displayed as a name over here, something like A, B, what is that is a name which comes. Instead of this name, you can also have an image over here, text with boolean option, and a string text with an image and text image and the boolean selection of the radio button to be true or false initially can be done. So these are the constructors which you can have with your JRadio button. Let me just run the related program and show you JRadio button demo. Here is a program. See here again inside a init method, I'm calling a invoke and wait. Inside the invoke and wait, I'm calling the make GUI. This part is common, girls. So all your logic, instead of writing in the init, as we are doing it in an event dispatching thread, we are doing it in a thread related method that is inside a run method, where run is calling a make GUI. So we are writing a total logic inside the make GUI method, girls. So JRadio button, we have created a JRadio button. B1 is equal to new radio buttons. B1 dot add action listener of this. Add of B1. So we are adding this component. And then we are registering your radio buttons. We have created 3 radio buttons, B1, B2, B3. Okay. Registered them with the action listeners, B1 dot add action listener, B2 dot add action listener, B3 dot add action listener, and added the components B1, B2, B3 into your container, right? And then they should be grouped for them to be mutually exclusive. So create a button group object. Button group BG is equal to new button group. Create a default object. So BG dot add method B1. So add B1, B2, B3 into your button groups. That is group these 3 components so that they'll be mutually exclusive. Then I'm creating a label. Select one and just adding a label onto your container. So I've added 3 buttons B1, B2, B3 with the names A, B, C and a label with the name select one. Right. So as I'm handling the action events, the handler method is action perform. So what I'm doing for the label, I'm setting text saying that which particular radio button is selected over here. So you have selected ae.getAction command will bring us the name of the radio button which is being generated. So getAction command method we are using over here to print the message, right? Let me just run it out and show you. Seagulls. Here is how the things would be displayed. A here is a radio button, B is a radio button, C is a radio button. This is a label which is being displayed for us. Okay, so if I select initially all of them by default they are deselected. I just used a string type. The constructor which I have used is a string type constructor. This one I have used this 5th constructor over here, right? So when by default they are unselected. So when I select, automatically action event is generated and I'm changing the label or text of my label. See, you selected A. Right. Next, when I click on B, action event is generated and the label is changed. You selected B. You selected C. So if I'm selecting A, the other 2 are getting deselected. So initially I've selected A now. Now when I'm selecting B, A is getting automatically deselected, which was different when it is with respect to your checkboxes. See with your checkboxes. If it is with the checkboxes, see, if I've selected C and I'm selecting C++, the previous selection is as it is. So you can go for multiple selections with your checkbox. But with the radio buttons, as it is mutually exclusive, as we kept it into the group, then it is mutually exclusive. So if I've selected B, the A is gone. Selection with respect to A is gone. Is it clear, girls? Yes? Yes, girls, is it clear with J radio buttons and J checkboxes? Girls respond.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If it is clear, let us now do a program related to the radio buttons, which is our lab program, traffic lights. Okay, here it's all with respect to the AWT. I have to change it 1 second. Okay, I'll just show you the output. Here it's with the AWT components. You have to actually do it with your swing components. I didn't change it. So this is what we want to do. So I want to add 3 radio buttons to my container with the names red, green and yellow. We are trying to implement traffic lights over here. So what is the thing? How many traffic light signals you will have? 3 signals, red, green and yellow. So when it is red, you have to stop. When it is yellow, you can be ready to start, and when it is green, you can start, right? So here what is that I want to do is when I click a related radio button, I want to change the background color of my screen, indicating the representation. So see, if I click on red, see the background color is getting changed. And if I click on green, See, it's changed to green. And when I click on yellow, and it's changed to yellow. So whenever I generate an event, click on a radio button, an action event is generated. So I am handling it in the action perform method. What is it I can do? Get the text. The get action command will give you the name. So if it is red, set the background color of your applet. You're having set background and set foreground, right? Methods. Yes, girls. Yes or no? Girls, is it
Yes, ma'am.
yes or no? Right, so using that you can do it. See, here is a logic. You try out this also in the lab. See, you have to add the things, and in the it's a radio button generates an action event. This is with respect to the AWT events, girls, but this is how the logic which you have to do. Using a get action command. 1 second, radio button. So inside this action performed method of your radio button, right? What is that you have to do now? A.get action command will give you the name. So store it into some string variable. If it is equal to red, set the background color to red. If it is equal to green, set the background color to green. If it is equal to yellow, set the background color to yellow. Is it clear, girls? That is how you have to do. So try out this program and do it in the lab. Let us now go with the next component.
Ma'am, will you share the program code?
Share the
Program code, the traffic lights and the calculator ones.
yeah, I'll share it. Yesterday I have పంపించలేదా నేను? Okay, I'll share it. Just remind me once after the class.
Okay, ma'am.
1 second, girls, I'll come back. Okay, girls, yeah, let me just continue with the other components. So next one is a J tabbed pen, one of the other swing components. So a tabbed pen is something like your tabs which you are having into your windows. So if you open yesterday, you have done with your properties tab. So there you will be having different tabs which you can select, right? So even in the menus, you will have a tabs, right? So even if you go with our website, college websites, you will be having different tabs like academics or college or services, like that. Different tabs will be there. So you can select one of the tab. So if you select each tab, the content related to that particular tab will be shown to you onto the main screen, right? So that is how the thing, such type of component, to create such type of component, we can use what is called as a J tabbed pane over here. Okay, so it looks something like this. Could you see this, girls? J tabbed pane. Here you're having 3 tabs called as cities, colors and flavors. So whenever I click on each of these, say if I've clicked on cities, it is showing the cities related thing onto your main screen: New York, London, Tokyo, like that. And when I've selected colors, the colors related thing is displayed panel. And when I've selected flowers, the flowers related panel is being displayed for us, right? So accordingly, each of them can be again of a different variant. Maybe it's buttons, some checkboxes, or it can be a list or something like that. Okay, so each of them can be further a different thing which can be added. So you can make your components display something like a layer and display them through the tabs. Each tab, the tab which is activated, only its related content will be shown to us. Remaining two remaining other contents will be hidden in the back, right? So here is the hierarchy of the classes. J tablet pane is inherited from the J component, which is lightweight component. That's why our tablet pane also will be a lightweight component, right? So let me tell you what can all you can do with the J tablet pen and what type of events does it generate. So J tablet pen encapsulates a tablet pane. Means a pane here is nothing but a area. It's something like a panel. Okay, a area, a empty area with low featured empty area which can be inserted, means added onto any top level containers easily, and which can be used to group, means group a set of components onto it, and you can add it as it doesn't have any borders and all, you can just add it easily onto the other containers. That is what a tab a pane means over here in the applets, right? So J tablet pane, it defines you a tablet pane. It manages a set of components by linking them with the tabs. So a set of components here can be linked. So which set of components you want to be displayed can be managed using a tabs, which we are using over here. It defines three constructors. J tablet pane provides three constructors. Here are the three constructors. One is a default constructor with a default tab space, where the first one would be the topmost one will be onto the top, and J tablet pane in placements creates an empty tablet pane with a specified tab placement of either top or left, bottom, or to the right. So where do you want the tablet pane to be displayed? Should the tabs be at the top or to the left or to the right or at the bottom? So by default it will be to the top. And J tablet pane, where you can specify the placement, and along with that policy, placement tab layout policy. Which layout do you want to display? Is it a border, grid, or whatever the layout which you want to do, right? So we can use any of these constructors over here. And it uses, the tablet pane uses a single selection model. All your toggle buttons uses the button model, right? Normal button uses the button model, and your toggle buttons, that is your J toggle button checkbox, and your radio buttons uses the toggle button model, right? For displaying its providing the look and feel for the components. And coming to the J tablet pen, it uses a single selection model. Why it is a single selection model means at a time only one of the tab can be selected, right? So if one of them is selected, the other one will be automatically deselected, right? So that's why the model which the tablet pen uses is a single selection model. And tabs are added. Each tab you have to add them. Create a tablet pane, and each tab pane, each pane whatever you are creating, like with respect to the cities, you're having some components, right? So those components should be added onto your tablet pane using a name, right? So this is a process which we have to follow to create a J tablet pane. Remember girls, J tablet pane uses a single selection model, and the tabs, whatever the panes you are creating into which the components are present, means your panels onto which your components are present, like a cities panel, colors panel, flowers panel, having three different panels. So each of the panel first has to be created on it as a whole, means whatever the type of the components you want to create it and create your panel, and then that panel is added to your main container. Sorry, first to the tablet pane, and then the tablet pane is added to your main container. So we use it by calling a add tab. The method add tab here will create a component for it. So your panel, whichever you want, the component which you want to add should be passed as an object, and the name, like cities is the name and the component is the panel, right? So we have to call the add tab method to add your tab to your, sorry, add your pane to your tab. J tab. Okay. So add your pane to your J tab pane class, right? Then it can be one of these things. So here is the procedure as I told. So create an instance of J tabbed pane initially, then add each tab by calling the add tab method. And add after that, once you have added all the tabs to the tabbed pane class, then add the tabbed pane to your original container. Add the tabbed pane to your content pane. Okay, add it to your container. Right? Let me show you the program, how it looks like. One second. Yeah, J tabbed pane, yes. See, I'll just run it out first and then show you the explanation of the code which is there. See, this is how a tabbed pane will look like, the same images which I have shown you. Right, so here are how many tabs? 3 tabs, cities, colors and flavors. If you could see the look and feel, the button and the tabbed pane is little different. You're having a small indication at the top left corner to know that it is different from your normal button. A tab is little different from a normal button. Okay, and by default it is onto the top of here. Could you see the tabbed pane, girls? Is it visible? Yes, girls, is it visible? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
See, whenever I'm clicking cities related contents, New York, London, Hong Kong, Tokyo. So each of these I have not generated or registered any listeners over here. So that's why nothing is happening even if I click on these buttons over here. These are the buttons, right? I'm just concentrating on the tabs over here, right? So cities tab. When I click on colors tab, automatically the cities tab gets deactivated and the colors tab related pane or the panel has been shown to me. So colors panel contains three check boxes for me, right? So here are the check boxes. Even here I'm not handling anything, so just selection and deselection is happening, but I'm not displaying any messages or anything else. Okay, and next is your flavors tab. So when I select a flavors tab, the other two gets deselected. So at a time only one of them can be highlighted. The flavors here is having onto its panel which is called as a list. This is how a list could look like. You can do the selection. Even here we are not handling any events. Okay, so this is how a tabbed pane will be created. So what we have to do, initially we have to create this panel, not that original tab, this part, only these things where your components are displayed. So create 4 buttons, add it onto your panel and then add that panel to your J tabbed pane. That is what we are doing. And similarly create 3 checkboxes, add it into your panel and add that tab to your tabbed pane. And similarly flowers also, create a list and add that to your tabbed pane. Okay, now let me show you the code how this is happening. Sorry. So as usual, into the init we have called the invoke and wait, and invoke and wait is calling a run method. Inside the run we have called the make GUI. Let us see what we are doing into the make GUI. So inside the make GUI I have created initially a J tabbed pane object, JTP. J tabbed pane object is created. Okay, and I'm calling okay, I'm having 3 classes over here: cities panel, colors panel and the flavors panel, because each of them should be a separate panel onto which the components are there, and that panel I have to add it back to the tabbed pane, right? So jtp dot add a tab, I'm giving the name as cities. And what is my component? It is a component of cities panel. What is a cities panel? It is a J panel component in a subclass of a J panel class. Similarly, all the 3 panes I'm creating, right? See what is happening in each of this is a constructor which you're calling over here. See, class cities panel extends J panel. We are using J panel over here. So inside the constructor, see what I'm doing. I've created 4 buttons, button B1 with the name New York, London, Hong Kong, Tokyo, and added them to your panel. Right, will add them to your panel. Right, and that panel I'm adding it to your tabbed pane. So create a panel separately and then add that panel to your tabbed pane using a method called as add tab. Okay, similarly colors panel. Create a colors panel for which I'm using a checkboxes. So 3 checkboxes and add them to your panel and add that panel to your JTabbed pane. Right, similarly colors also. Flowers panel. It's a combo box actually. So create a combo box and then try to add the components, add each item initially to the combo box and add your combo box to the panel and add your panel tab to your tabbed pane, right? And after adding the tabs to your tabbed pane, then add your tabbed pane to your container. What is your container here? It's an applet, right? So add your applets. So initially what did we do? We have created 4 buttons, added them to the panel and added that panel to your tabbed pane, and then created 4 checkboxes, added them to the panel, and that colors panel we have added it to your tabbed pane, and then we have created 3 items, added it to your combo box, and that combo box we have added it to the panel, and the panel we have added it to your tabbed pane. And at the end, after adding these 3 tabs to your tabbed pane, we have added the tabbed pane to your original container applet, right? So here I am not registering with any of the listeners. I'm not generating any events. That is why nothing output is displayed for me, right? Yeah, even if I run, no events are handled over here. So nothing is handling, right? Is it clear, guys? So this is all about a tabbed pane. Let me just go with other things. Yeah, next one is a scroll pane. Scroll pane is also again a panel or a pane, that is an area onto which you can add a large set of components, where automatically the pane size, anyway whatever the window size is there, it will be limited, right? The screen size of the window is limited. So even in our case the screen size is limited. I could only see this hierarchy and some points about a J scroll pane. So if I want to see the remaining thing, I'm scrolling, I'm using a scroll bar. So I have both vertical and horizontal. No horizontal, only vertical scroll bar is there for me here, right? So that is how you can create even with the scroll pane. So if you're having a large set of components to be added and you don't want them to be occupying your total window, only part of it to be visible, so you can add it as a component called as J scroll pane. So all your large set of components onto the J scroll pane, and using the scroll bars which are automatically provided by the J scroll pane, you can see all the list of your components. Okay, that is what you can do. Here is how a J scroll pane will look like. I'll just run it out and show you. J scroll pane, is it there? Yeah, it's there. Girls, are you able to follow? One second, let me just run it. Yeah, see, I have added around 20 by 20, 400 buttons onto the window. But my window size is limited that I can't see all the 400 buttons at a time. Yes or no? Row wise, I have created 20 by 20, 400 buttons onto my window, girls. Okay, but could I see all the 400 buttons? Are they visible? Only 0, 1, 20, 21, 40, 41 till 120 and 121 are the things which are visible to me. So whatever the remaining, see, automatically I have kept them onto the panel that is a pane, scroll pane, we can call it as a scroll pane. Scroll pane automatically provides these scroll bars. So could you see these scroll bars over here, left and right, vertical and horizontal scroll bars, right? So these scroll bars are automatically provided. We don't need any scroll bar class. Automatically, if you put your components through the JScroll pane, automatically the scroll bars will be provided. So see, if you could scroll down, you could see the remaining other components, 300 by 300. So the remaining other components, you can scroll it out and see. So 399 from 0 to 399. So many components, 400 components have added. Okay, girls. So this is how a scroll pane looks like. Let me explain how it works. It is also a lightweight component. Here is a hierarchy. J scroll pane extends the J component. So it is a lightweight component. It's a lightweight container that automatically handles the scrolling of another component. So here the component which it is handling the scrolling is with buttons. So buttons are being scrolled as they are kept inside the scroll pane. The component being scrolled can either be an individual component such as a table or a group of components within other lightweight containers such as JPanel. So you can just put it onto JPanel and add that panel as a thing, or else you can directly add the components individually also. So in either case, if the object being scrolled is larger than the window's viewable area, then horizontal and the vertical scroll bars are automatically provided and the components can be scrolled through the pane. So if the size is beyond the view area of the um, view area of your window, then automatically the scroll pane, if you have added your components through the scroll pane, then it automatically will provide the horizontal and the vertical scroll bar for it. Because scroll pane provides the automatic scrolling, it usually eliminates the need to manage the individual scroll bars. So you need not use individual scroll bars. It automatically creating and setting all that need not be done for the scroll bars. It automatically provides the scroll bars. The viewable area, only the visible area at a time which you can view of the scroll pane is called as a viewport. So through this viewport, it is how the things will be getting managed. So it is a window in which the components being scrolled is displayed. Viewport is nothing but onto which the screen size you can call it. Thus the viewport displays the visible portion of the component being scrolled. The scroll bars scroll the components through the viewport. So using these scroll bars, you can view the remaining components also into the viewport. In this, in its default behavior, J scroll pen will add or remove a scroll bar as needed. For example, if you're having 200 components as vertical and horizontal are required, so it is providing all the things. If only horizontal is required, it provides only horizontal. So in my case of the document, if you could see here, only horizontal scroll bar is provided. No, sorry, only vertical scroll bar is provided. No horizontal scroll bar is there because the text is beyond the uh, thing for the with respect to the length, right? So that's why the vertical scroll bar itself is provided. Are automatically displayed when the content pane exceeds the dimensions of the viewport. So if your components exceed the dimensions of the viewport, automatically the scroll bars are provided by this. And here is the procedure which you have to follow to use a scroll pane. Create the components which you want to be scrolled, means beyond the size if they are there, and create an instance of J scroll pane, passing to it the object to scroll. So create an object of J scroll pane and pass your object which you want to scroll uh, into this JScroll pane object constructor and add this scroll pane to your original container, right? And here are the constructors for us: JScroll pane and JScroll default constructor. JScroll pane, the component which you want to be scrolled, that component you have to pass, and a component and a vertical and a horizontal scroll bar positions. So do you want them to be displayed or not, you can mention over here. And even for an empty scroll bar, if there is no viewport, you can specify what should be the vertical and horizontal scroll bar policy, you can mention over here. should it be displayed or not, you can mention over here. Okay, understood. Let me explain the code for you. See what I'm doing in this program. I've displayed 400 buttons, right? As usual, I've created a JScrollPaint demo class. X is a JApplet, and inside the init, I have called the invoke and wait. Invoke and wait is calling a run inside the thread class. We are calling a run method, and run is calling a make GUI. So inside the make GUI, see what I'm doing. JPanel, I have created a JPanel object. JPanel, JP is equal to new JPanel. I have created a JPanel object, and set the layout as a grid layout with 20 by 20 grids. So I've taken a button of a number, b is equal to 0, int I is equal to 0, I less than 20, I plus plus, j is equal to 0, j less than 20, j plus plus. I'm creating 20 by 20 buttons. JP dot into the panel, I'm adding a button, new button with the name button B, means button 1, button 0, 1, 2, 3. B is what the number which is getting updated over here inside the loop, right? So I've just added 400 buttons over here to my panel, created 400 buttons and added them to the panel, right? Then what I'm doing, see, then I've created a JScrollPane object, JScrollPane, JSP is equal to new JScrollPane, where I'm passing the component over here. What is the component I want to be scrolled? It's a panel onto which 400 buttons are there. So I'm passing that JP as an argument to this scroll pane, right? And then add your JSP, that is your JScrollPane, onto your container. So add your container. You can also set the layout. So set the border layout and make this component at the center. Right, so you have set the border layout and made your JSP point in the center. Right, about the layout managers, after the components we'll discuss, girls. So let me just run it out once again and show you. This is how you can run it. Okay, so I've added 400 buttons with the 20 by 20, see 0 to 19. And here comes still 399, 0 to 399 buttons we have added initially these buttons onto the panel, and that panel we have added into your scroll pane and scroll pane onto your window and made it visible. So automatically when you reduce, so if I just give 2 by 2, I don't need, actually the viewport would be sufficient probably, right? So let me just save it out and run it out and show you the difference. See, in this case 4 are there, so it doesn't need any horizontal scroll bar over here, so it is not providing any horizontal scroll bar, only 4 vertical buttons are there, right? Okay girls, so automatically as and when required, only those related scroll bar will be provided by the JScrollPane. Is it clear, girls? Yes, is it clear? So today we have discussed about J checkbox, J radio button, J tabbed pane and J scroll pane, the 4 components. So can you just list out the components which you have discussed from yesterday? Yes, rule number 35. Rule number 35, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, list out the components which you have studied from yesterday's class. What are the components we have studied till now? Just tell me. We have discussed about
J label,
yeah, J label,
J text field,
J
J
text,
button,
J buttons,
J toggle button,
good,
J
J toggle button,
checkbox,
J checkbox,
J radio button, J
J
tabbed
radio
pane,
buttons, yeah, J
J
radio
scroll.
buttons, scroll pane, good. So, okay, we have done with J scroll pane, J tabbed pane, J checkbox, and J toggle bar, J radio buttons today. In the next class, the remaining components we'll discuss. Wait a second, let me just check for the attendance. Yeah, it's there. Okay, girls, all of you, as I told once again, try to download the Java exe file and install the Java. If you could not download also, you can get it online. Download a Java version beyond 1.8. 1.8 or above version you try to download, girls. Okay. Try to download a Java which is above 1.8. And also try to complete your Coding Ninjas programs also. Okay, girls, any doubts? Any doubts, girls?
Ma'am, reshare the Eclipse file, ma'am.
Yeah, I'll do it. Okay, girls, you can leave then.
Ma'am, share the programs also, ma'am.